Hey, what's up, Julian? Congrats on the new deal.
Thank you.
It sounds like you took a couple visits, San Francisco and Buffalo. What led you back to Indy?
This was home, man. This is the place where it started, and this is a place where I want to finish if I can. Everybody knows how free agency went this year for safeties. And so, we just wanted to be patient with the whole process, and we were able to come up with something that everybody was happy with.
Mike Chappell.
Yeah, Julian, again, it's every player's wish to see what's out there. And you sort of said what the safety market was. When you look at it, is this the best place to sort of be for a, I don't want to call it a prove it year because you've proven it, but is this maybe the best place to be familiar, the defense, and you're going to play to see what
Yeah,
happens next year?
I definitely think so. And after weighing it with my family, talking about it over and over with, my agent and everybody, this is the place that made the most sense for the next step. Because, like you said, it's a 1 year deal, and for me, I feel like my value is worth more than 1 year. But unfortunately, we all saw how the market went, so it was what I was dealt, and I'm happy with how it ended up.
Frustrated through the process or not because of the timing?
Not necessarily frustrated. I think it was just one of those things where, that's how it goes every year, and you got to understand as a player that you can't, take it and try to internalize it and take it personal. More of just you got to understand the business side of things. And so for me, I just was trying to stay even and be where my feet were, which I was with my family, and they did a great job supporting me. So it wasn't too bad.
Thank you.
Nate Atkins.
Hey, Julian, first chance to be a free agent for you came at an interesting time, like you mentioned, with the safety market. I guess, were you surprised by the way this played out at that position? There's still some big name guys out there. And what do you think of just sort of what you learned about how the league values, that position? Do you think that's going to change?
And I think it was something similar to how it was for the running backs a year ago. And it just kind of shows you that, you got to always be prepared for anything. It's one of those things where you can never really truly say that you've got it, especially when, there's so much talent in the NFL. So for me, it was just one of those things where I just try to take it for what it was, which, this was a unique situation, especially going in to my first free agency. But like I said, luckily I had the right people in my corner to kind of, navigate that for me.
James Boyd.
Julian, obviously you didn't end the year the way you wanted to. How are you doing, I guess, health-wise? Are you 100% healthy, like ready to go for the spring, number one? And number two, I feel like it's easier said than done to be patient and trust the business side of things, but how do you recenter yourself when it is your livelihood and obviously something that you feel like you've earned?
Yeah, man, I feel really good, first of all. I have a really good trainer. He did a really great job. Shout out to Skyler. Um, And then I think honestly, the way that you deal with it is you try to turn off all the outside noise, try to not look at what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is signing, and just be where my feet were. Like I said, once again, I was just able to take care of myself and where I was at home, just working out at home and just taking it one day at a time, because I didn't really want to get into the comparison mode. It's easy to compare when you're on and you see that everybody else is signing, and that's what I didn't want to do. So I just turned it off. I just turned off the outside noise and tried to focus on what I could do, which was work.
Joel Erickson.
What did you learn from taking visits to a couple other teams? I mean, the Colts have been your only team in the NFL, but what did you learn from taking visits to a couple other?
I think it just broadened my perspective, to be honest. You see how other teams compete, what makes them winning cultures. And honestly, that's what made me want to come back too. At the same time, you see all these other teams that talk about what they have and, how they're in-house. And for me, it was like, man, I feel like we have the same thing in Indy, so, my heart was always like, okay, well, this has been a great process, but at the same time, I want to continue to build something that I've started, that I've helped start.
Do a few more here. Stephen Holder.
Hey, Julian, I missed the first question or two, so forgive me if I repeat. But obviously, I know you and I talked at the end of last year. You felt like that was your best season as a pro, and so I'm wondering what's next for you. Do you think as the progression in your career, still a young player, and you want to have that big year, obviously for obvious reasons. So, what do you think is the next step in your game? I guess.
And I would say the next step is honestly to finish. I feel like I've started out strong and, I've gotten to the end, but I haven't finished. And so for me, I think that everybody else knows it too. One of the things that I want to do is play 17 games. And so I think that more than just from a leader aspect, I think being on the field for my teammates is something that I want to be able to do.
Jake Arthur.
Julian, the Colts have obviously put a huge emphasis on bringing back their own guys like you, Kenny Grover, the list goes on. What does that tell you when almost all the moves they've made is just bringing back their own guys?
Not only that, they do a great job at trusting the guys, but also that the guys want to be here. The people who come here end up wanting to be here. And I think it just has to do with the camaraderie that we have as teammates, as well as how great the organization has been. And, we all see what it can be if we all just stick together. And so I think it's one of those things where we see further than just right now. Long term, we can be a team that competes for what everybody else here wants, which is a championship.
We'll do two more here. Nate Atkins.
And Julian, I know how close you got with Kenny Moore, Michael Pittman, obviously some other guys on defense. What has this spring been like for you to see those guys get deals, then to be able to come back and run it back with them?
Man, it was awesome. Like you said, I'm close to both of those guys, and we all had actually been in contact throughout this whole process, especially Kenny and I. We FaceTiming like every day, just talking about, man, what would it be like for us to come back? Even Pitt, he's like, hey, when are you signing back? When are you coming back? And so it was just one of those things where all of us were able to just stay together and trust that we all wanted to be back. And the fact that we made it happen, man, it couldn't be more than a blessing. So we're just all excited to be back.
Last one here, James Boyd.
Julian, we look at your role last season, obviously you switched to strong safety. I think it worked out pretty well for you. How do you build on that? And does that maybe just speed up the process of having another great season when going into it, okay, this is where I'm going to be in this defense?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's just understanding what I did well and maybe what I can do better from the last year. I wrote a lot of things down from this past year, and I try to just look at it and take it for what it is and try to build upon it. There's some things that I want to continue to fine tune in my game. And so it's just one of those things where in order for me to take the next step, I've got to be on the field. And I know that. And so for me, it's just, taking it for what it is and try to build upon that.
Just one quick follow-up. I mean, the game is so violent, but how do you, I guess, make yourself more unbreakable? Like, do you change your workouts? Do you talk to trainers? How does that process look like for, an athlete that's played this game for a long time and has been, I mean, yes, you had major injuries, but the last few years you've been out there like 80% of the time, 85% of the time.
Yeah, man, I think, it's just, I don't know if you necessarily make crazy changes rather than just be really in tune with your body as much as you can. We all know that football is one of those games where just things happen, and no matter how hard you train, sometimes it's unfortunate that you can get injured at any given time. So you continue to try to build upon what you learn and do everything that you can to keep yourself healthy, because it's got to be something that I can do, and so I'm willing to find it.
Thanks for your time, Julian. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Julian.
Thanks, media. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.